I've enjoyed several of the other readings that you've hosted, and I'm very honored to be with you. I don't think I have a very wonderful self-introduction, so with your permission, I'll just start and read some poetry. I'll read some poems, then I'll read an excerpt from one of my stories, then maybe a few more poems, and then time permitting, we can either talk about Vita Poetica, or I can take any questions that you all might have about either the journal or about poetry. I'll mention that Julie Wan, who is also with us, is the managing editor at Vita Poetica. So we are amply prepared to discuss the journal with you if you'd like to. But in any case, I will begin. I'll read some poems from Someone is Breathing, which is a collection that came out a couple years ago. Also a chapbook of mine, The Musician Approaching Sleep. And also some new ones here and there. So I'll begin with one that's called Born in 1984. Oh, I should mention that Winston Smith, who's referred to in the poem, is the protagonist of the novel by Orwell, 1984. Born in 1984. The girl is 17 and can't spell or punctuate or tell the difference between a complete sentence and a kind of stutter on the page. Her take on Winston Smith is reasonable. She gets him right because she's obviously bright and cares and is sensitive about people, and because she has a good teacher who has been instructed to ignore the shambles of language. Her score on the test will do her and her parents proud. So on to the real world, where it may not matter much, or it may, if her job application gets in the hands of some impatient old school pedant, or if her century turns out to be the one that kills literacy. No one left to write the books or read them. Essential words forgotten, freedoms too. That will matter, though she can't spell them and doesn't yet need them. Thank you. This is a new one. It's called The Soldier from Sheffield. The soldier from Sheffield was chain-smoking, poor bloke, jittering against the door jamb outside the Japanese restaurant in Belize while we waited for our cab. We learned he'd been in the British Army for 4 years, since he was 16. Oh yeah, you can do that in the UK. Thought he might make a career of it. But they sent him into the jungle here in former British Honduras on maneuvers with his mates. To learn what exactly, we asked? How to fight in the jungle. He's on a break after 2 weeks carrying 90-pound packs and getting killed by mosquitoes. And last night, the pack was full of spiders, which for the soldier from Sheffield was a bit of a bloody liberty. Blond and wan, he was in pieces over it somehow, maybe over the whole thing. Where will this jungle war be fought, we asked him. We said something about the temperate UK, and he thought he heard Ukraine. And he said, oh no, we're not going there. That'll never happen. Well, good, we said. Our cab came. He offered us a cigarette one more time, then said he might as well go back inside to his table with his mates and get hammered some more. I'd like to visit the US, he told us. What's it like? Do you like it? It's very big, I said. No jungles. And we left, leaving the soldier from Sheffield staring after us as if he couldn't believe what he'd heard. Thank you. This poem is called The Ropes. The grave, as final forwarding address, holds no terrors for me, really. It's moving there that chills the failing blood. I don't mean illness and giving yourself up to the dubious mercies of nurses and doctors, though yes, that's a grisly rendezvous to keep. But the moment of crossing over, the side step or full plunge, the trance or faint, and there you are. I want someone to show me the ropes of death. I'm a newbie. I have no clue what to do here, what might lie in wait to hurt me. A fate worse than death? Don't laugh. Coming out of the previous void? No, I can't remember. All my earliest memories teem with helpers, guides, big loving people. No one made me fledge till I was ready. Something like that again, please. That's what I want. A talkative Charon, a smiling Virgil. I'm not particular. It needn't be a top tier angel, just a soul who cares and who's been dead longer. I I'm a cat person, and those of you who are also cat people may have noticed that if it's an indoor cat, which of course mine are, because I don't want them eating the birds and getting fleas, they act as if they're just dying to go outside. But of course, when you give them the opportunity, they're not nearly so enthusiastic about it. You may have noticed this. Uh, um, so anyway, as to these cats, I thought that kind of reflected a bit of our own spiritual situation sometimes, kind of a spiritual timidity. So I wrote a short poem about that, which is called Indoor Cats. Like indoor cats, we're curious and scared to get on the wrong side of the front door. We stare out the window and don't know the names. We remember those times we were transported into that bright, windy world, doors slammed, motors gunned, and at journey's end, someone hurt us for our own good as we hissed and writhed. Now and then the door swings open. We know we could squeeze through. We give the porch a bitter glance, then make a fuss, asking for kibble and a lap. Thank you. I like the little hands. Those are good. I don't know if it's come across in the reading, but a number of these poems were formal to one degree or another, metered and rhymed to a degree. I'll read one now that's actually quite formal. It's a sonnet. It's called Divorce. They made the vow at City Hall, Manhattan, June 46. Ring, license. The JP invoked obedience, honor, fidelity, till death do you part. I do. And that was that, and no one there to cry. The bridegroom lied. He never meant to honor her. She never did obey him. They staggered on, tethered for 54 sad, ragged years, and died 8 weeks apart. They're with each other now forever, says the priest. The JP spoke a kinder truth, I think. The earthly blunder stopped with heaven. Death revoked the vow my parents never kept and never broke. Let none re-yoke what God has pulled asunder. On a lighter note, as they say, this is one called Fantasy on a Theme by Hallmark. Some are hallowed and familiar: birthday, happy anniversary, and sympathy, the one we all will need. But recently, the colored cardboard placards placed to segregate the neighborhoods, each ethnic group of greeting cards descending in rows from its descriptor. Recently, these signposts have taken to marking curious new sensibilities. The cards themselves are awful, of course, and so I offered a stoned clerk $20, and now I send the cardboard signs instead. Cope is useful, stern imperative, and suitable for remarriage, has a tart ambiguity, her or me. Money holder, mailed without comment, speaks its reproof to mean acquaintances. Best of all, the series I have lived so many times and never known how to subdivide and signify. Now I send more than friends, then new love, parens humor. God, I guess, is laughing. Then troubled love, then sorry. a final, noble, sweet effort across the miles. And then the truth, blank inside. I never got Elvis Presley, but I'm aware that he occupies a somewhat mythic place in a lot of people's families and memories. I thought it might be interesting to put him into a different mythic setting and see what happens. So I did that, and the resulting poem is called Elvis in Narnia. There he is in his sequined jumpsuit, manning the prow of the Dawn Treader. Later, don't be cruel, he murmurs into the mic and does that thing with his hips to the elves. The four English children stare and point. I think it's a sort of satyr, perhaps? No, those are boots, not hooves, I think. He shows up at Cair Paravel, strides into the throne room, modestly. Anything I can do to help, ma'am? Caspian, gently. I am a prince, good fellow. I do apologize, Your Majesty, it's the long hair. Wise and courteous, he doesn't mention that he is a king in his own country. With his entourage of beavers and giants and what all taking care of business, he's booked across the realm. He sings the early Sun Records stuff for the talking animals, who totally get it. The Vegas period goes over big at tournaments. In the Ghetto is a hit all over again, number 4 with an arrowhead. The king at sunset, kneeling for Aslan's blessing. The lion speaks. You must return to your own land now. And soon he is legend, Elvis of Memphis, troubadour from that fallen world where God took human form. I think I'll take a break and go ahead and read a little fiction. I find what I did with it. There we go. This is from my story collection called When I Snap My Fingers, You'll Remember Everything. It's the story itself is a little too long to read it in its entirety, so I'll just read a couple of scenes. The name of the story is Roaches Crawled Across My Chicken. Yes, it's a horror story. Actually, I think I'd describe it as a serious allegorical comedy. The narrator is a financially insecure editor and proofreader named Victor. The story introduces us to some of his friends and colleagues and his not very exciting social life. But Victor's main problem is that his apartment is infested with roaches. He's tried everything, but he can't get rid of them. It's gotten to the point where no one will visit him anymore. It's driving him insane. Even his cat Nolan is tormented. Finally, he confesses his despair to a friend of his late mother's named Mrs. Judson, and she recommends Dr. Favor, an exterminator who solved her own pest problem. Victor agrees to call him, and that's where I'll begin reading the excerpt. Oh, I should also say that it's established that Victor is a practicing Catholic, but seems to have a rather poor conception of what that might mean to him. So, over the phone, Dr. Favor had been terse. A 2-day job, yes, he'd informed me, after learning the gravity of my problem. His voice was deep and accented, though I couldn't place the lilt. Vaguely Mediterranean, perhaps, or Middle Eastern? There was no trace of censure in his manner, and I appreciated that. He sounded neither happy nor sad about the roaches, and he never called them mine. He said he would arrive at 9, and that I ought to be prepared to vacate the premises. With Nolan mourning inside his carrier, I sat in my living room, suitcase packed, and awaited Dr. Favor. I glanced at the ceiling. 2 or 3 spots moved across it, negotiating the swirls and rills like Arctic explorers. Dr. Favor was prompt. He wore clean white overalls with painter's loops. He was a short man, but no shrimp. Big-chested, thick-necked, square-headed, and he wore a carefully trimmed black mustache. He carried an old canvas satchel filled with canisters, bottles, hoses, and, strangely, several books whose titles I couldn't see. I asked him if he needed to know anything more about the situation, and he shook his head curtly. I have everything I need, he said, pointing to his satchel. You may leave the matter in my hands. Are those books reference manuals? I asked. Dr. Faber stared at me, eyes stony. Innocence, he said, or seemed to say. Innocence? He smiled, showing his gums. In a sense. Ah, pardon, I said. The doctor became businesslike. He walked into my kitchen, stomped briskly on a roach, and began to empty his satchel on the counter. I will let myself out, he called to me without turning around. Do you wish to meet me here again tomorrow morning, or may I have a key? I can meet you, I said. But I was reluctant to leave. What would his first foray consist of? Poison gas? Deadly pellets? He placed a thick book, the color of ox blood, next to my dish drainer. Spells? I suppose Mrs. Judson's house was quite badly infested, I said to his back. Dr. Faber grunted, busy with his implements. He turned to the sink and ran water over his capable-looking hands. Then he dried them on a dish towel, mumbling a few words I couldn't catch. He didn't seem to be talking to me. I watched him unscrew the top of a dull gray cylinder, remove a wafer-like object, and hold it up to the light, mumbling once more. He placed it carefully on the counter, then turned to face me, arms folded across his muscular chest. He raised his eyebrows. Very well, then, I said. I picked up Nolan's carrier and my suitcase. Good luck, I said. Nolan moaned, a long descending note. Dr. Faber bowed slightly and said, Have a nice day, unless you have other plans. He smiled. Choke. Oh, come now, I stuttered. Then I got it and laughed politely. A joke, yes. The doctor turned his back on me and opened the oxblood-covered book. I left. The next morning, I arrived wearily at my apartment building. When I got off the elevator and rounded the corner of the hallway, Dr. Faber was there waiting for me. His overalls were blue this time. How did it go? I asked him, and let us in. I gasped. My apartment smelled like a darkroom. On the floor, the carpets, the tables were hundreds of shriveled brown corpses. Oh my God, I said. I could not take another step inside. Dr. Faber gave me his gum-revealing grin. As you see, he said, and for the first time I learned something of his attitude toward roaches. He was delighted that they were dead. Unbelievable, I said. Dr. Faber went on smiling. He said, Oh, don't worry, I will remove them. It is part of the service. Thank you, I said helplessly. What more is there to do? Prophylaxis, he said, rolling the R with gusto. Prevention. I see. Will there be any more? I gestured at the battlefield. Where they fall, you will not see them, Dr. Faber said. Never again. I suppose I should pay you now, I said, patting myself for my wallet. I was still overwhelmed by what I had walked into and dizzy from lack of sleep. The doctor shook his head. I will leave a bill. Mail it in. Or pay pal. He sounded amused, as if by some quaint foreign term. All right. I guess I had no idea. He swept his eyes around my living room. Now you know, he said, with what I judged to be satisfaction. Stay away tonight. Tomorrow it will be safe. You and your little kitty cat can return in triumph. Now I was sure he was mocking me. No doubt he remembered that my Christian name was Victor. Had I appeared weak in his eyes, unmanned by his works? I decided to challenge him. And this will really last? I asked. They won't come back? Not for as long as you live, he replied solemnly, as if I were a child being told the end of a fairy tale. And when you die, he gave a huge squint-eyed bellow of laughter. Who cares, eh? Well, Father Toole, my pastor, would take issue with you on that. Dr. Faber waved a hand dismissively. When his rectory becomes a pest house, you must recommend my services. I'll do that, I said. and left. So I'm going to stop the story there. I'm afraid you'll have to buy the book to find out what happens to Victor and Nolan and the roaches. But thank you for your attention. Yeah, got time for a few more poems, I think. Does that sound good, Christopher? Okay, great. I'll read one called Answer to Simmias, and it begins with an excerpt from one of the Platonic dialogues, the Phaedo. The epigraph reads, Socrates says, Simmias, if I remember rightly, has fears and misgivings, whether the soul, being in the form of harmony, although a fairer and diviner thing than the body, may not perish first. So, answer to Simmias. This happened to me once. I wrote a chaconne for orchestra. These were my student days. I scored the thing, took pains, and heard my phrases begin to soar above their grounded base. And then I lost the pages, God knows how. Those precious scribbled staves just disappeared beneath the waves of senior year disorder. I wasn't daunted, though. I could still hear it. The music in my head, my thoughts, my mind, unscientific terms. Had I dropped dead that day, the probing scalpels would have failed to find a single quaver in my brain. Yet they were there. I heard it, wrote it down again, improved it even, took it closer to what I had in mind. Now, please imagine your soul as music. You live out your years becoming rhythm, harmony, the structure of what you are. Then comes the final measure, the whole note rest of death. The printed score, your blood and bones and breath and DNA, will decompose, will disappear as quickly as my first draft chaconne. What of the music? How can you live again? A greater mind must needs remember you and let you play forever. Each thematic line perfected and finally sounding true. Heaven is sounding impossible these days with every quantum of matter mathematically weighed and accounted for, but it's no more or less miraculous than what I have in mind. And so, da capo. The choir master smiles and gives the downbeat. The angels pluck you out upon their lyres, while voices far more absolute, more lovely than any you imagined sing the burden, as light as life. Simmias, let us pray. Remember us, O Lord. Keep us in mind. Thank you. I pressed a button that I shouldn't have. Okay, I fixed it. This is called 7 Years. Reversals of right and left, mad mirror images of sane American traffic, the Welsh road cramped with parked cars, precipitous hill, oncoming drivers hooting, a conspiracy of happenstance that caused her to nudge the Mondeo against a rubbish bin, and the left-hand rear-view mirror struck protruding scrap wood and flew away. She pulled over, repentant. Assuring her it didn't matter, I got out and trudged back up the hill, felt the steepness tug my thighs and calves, recovered it, its shards still glued in fractured place within the frame. I tried to refit it, no go. Welcome to Merthyr, her hometown, her first return in 7 years. I am the new American husband. Down we went, parked, walked, a high street filled with the old accents, windows, aromas, Evans the butcher, Lloyd's the bank. Eyes haunted, she hurried us away, leaving the valleys cottoned in their misty losses. I'd need a lifetime to unwrap them, and would I grasp her? Her Celtic blues, whatever went wrong and right, like any childhood? Her long exile. Later, in Welshpool, the replacement cost a mere £11. Our mirror socket, though, had been knocked awry, and the new reflections were useless. Bits of road, the car itself, her eyes, mine, whoever was driving. I'll read a couple of childhood poems. This is a short lyric called Field. A field of black-eyed Susans that you ran through, your shirt off, grassy petals shining, sun in a sneezy scent, your face so close to the thousand dark eyes that swayed unblinking in your wake. Only 3 years old, you gave no thought to running through, didn't wonder what might remain. Yet it does. The memory glows. Skin, sun, blossoms, larger somehow than the tall man waiting at the edge of the field to take you home. This one's called Heroics. This drunk bum was up on a stoop, tried to come down, but tripped and tumbled, sprawled in a smelly heap at my father's feet. A rich, bright line of blood appeared and moved down over his forehead. He groaned at the winter sky. I was 8 or so. My father asked another passerby to call an ambulance, and then he took off his old olive drab army field jacket and draped it over the bum. We waited, my father down on one knee, keeping an eye on the wound until the ambulance came. The bum was dumped on a stretcher and wheeled to the curb. And just before he got loaded in, my father retrieved his army jacket. He put it right back on, as if nothing had happened to it. And I could see it wasn't stained. And when I leaned against him and sniffed, didn't smell. That jacket had gone through World War II with him, the Pacific Theater. All the rest of the day, I kept seeing the blood appear and move. Okay, here's my cranky old man poem called Old School. The thrift store clerk shuffles over, slaps the boombox. Moments later, old school bass lines roil the room. He's moving off, a spring in his stagger, eyeing the handful of customers. Are we getting this? He nods and smiles, modeling, yes. The kid he was, peeking out from behind the mustache, just knowing we like Barry White. Nowadays, everyone's got their own private soundtrack rattling in their earbuds. Do sophomores still celebrate the perfection of spring by yanking up the dorm windows, hoisting their speakers onto the sill, then returning to the stereo, the volume knob, and blaring the best music in the world at the moment out onto the heads of helpless passersby? I hope so. I doubt it. Stereo. C note. Auto-tuned cash pop in the supermarket isn't the same. The assistant managers who make me hear it don't love it, don't care what it makes me feel. For God's sake, mean it. Be old school. Turn it up. Share your favorite song with me like a DJ in a thrift store. The way my neighbor's baby crawls across the floor and hands me a sodden pretzel, drooling a little, certain of my thanks. Okay, a couple more. I wrote fiction quite a bit before I wrote poetry, and had never really intended to publish the poetry that I did write. But a good friend of mine died, and the experience of being with his community of people who were helping walking through the death was so powerful, and I found I could not express it in prose, or for that matter in music. I was also a musician, and suddenly poems started coming, and this was one of the first ones that did. And it does reflect that experience, and possibly others will relate as well. It's called What We Did. Because we could not shrink ourselves, because we were not antibodies, because we could not enter him like maniacs with brushes and mops to wipe the mess from his lungs, clean up every bit of the racking clutter that made each breath a torture, because we could not even follow him downstairs to the ICU, down one step closer to getting out of here altogether, because we were left post-crisis so suddenly in the room at night when fluorescence really hurts and shows the litter of crumpled notes and candy wrappers, because we were human size, life size. We filled 3 bags with tissues and petals, paper slippers, a blue plastic straw, his pencil, 7-Eleven cups, and other used things. Boy, did we tidy up. Room 5108. Okay, one more. You've been a lovely audience. Thank you. This is called Only Passing Through. Books were tough bones once. They kept you upright, gave you something strong beneath your easily insulted flesh. You finished a good book and it was yours, part of the skeleton, the articulation of self. You could feel it when you pressed hard. And a lifetime of years and words go by, and now books refresh you. They cleanse and cool. They're like sprinklers you ran through as a child on a summer morning, reflecting whatever light is already there. The brief aha. Nothing you'd ever keep or want to. You forget them as soon as they're read. Who can remember every sun shower? Yes, you say of a recent book. I think I read that last year. I recall liking it. It was good, wasn't it? And it's becoming true of music, too, and places, and thoughts. The gleaming lawn, the mirrored light, and you, only passing through. Thank you very much.